Hello, Giants fans. Welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Mets 7-0 today. And you do wonder at this point, do we just need to face the fact that, after all, the Giants couldn't come anywhere near to contending in 2023 without adding to their roster in free agency last offseason? Do we just need to face that as a fact, and that the predictions that they would win enough to maybe sneak into the playoffs, do we just need to see those at this point as being a little too optimistic and just not accurate in regard to the Giants? Well, there are really two things at play here. First of all, their performance has just been atrocious. This is really unacceptable right now, and it certainly can't be diminished just how badly the Giants are performing. But at the same time, you can remember that the years 2019 and 2020, and it might seem a little strange to bring those up because even though the Giants were able to make a rally and get themselves in a spot to potentially make the playoffs, they fell short both of those years. And so obviously, if they were to repeat a thing like that, it would have to have a different ultimate outcome in 2023. All of that being the case, however, I think it's worth remembering that in 2019 and 2020 they had a terrible start to the year both those times, and yet they managed to come within a reasonable distance of making the playoffs, and they were deep into the wild card race for a long time in both of those years. It is likely, too, that in 2023 they will get onto a hot streak at some point. I don't think that this big time of losing is reminiscent of everything that we're going to consistently see in 2023. It's likely that the Giants will get back onto a hot streak at some point. In fact, I actually think it's likely that at some point in the season they will have a really red hot streak similar to what they had in 2019 and 2020. And even maybe reminding you of 2021 for whether it's a brief period of time or whether it lasts for a couple of months, which we'd be hoping. But at the very least, for a brief period of time, I think that the Giants will get on a hot streak where it just looks like they're killing it, and as a component of that, it'll be, the offense just blowing it open, scoring a ton of runs every game. That's what I think that at some point in this season there will be. And again, I don't know how long it's going to last or anything like that, so that makes it impossible to say whether it's going to be enough to get the Giants into the playoffs. As far as how things are looking right now, I think they're looking pretty bad. I'm not one to be super optimistic about this, and I really find it hard to believe in the Giants roster as it is right now, but I do think that they will turn it around at some point, at least for a brief period of time, and then too, it is possible that how they perform in the few weeks ahead of the trade deadline will make a lot of the difference. And hopefully the front office is going to use past experiences to guide them, and then at the very least they'll realize that some of the things they did before didn't work out. And maybe if the Giants can prove something, they will actually add on to the roster at this trade deadline, and hopefully that'll get the Giants somewhere. So I'd say that's where they stand. But it was a 7-0 loss to the Mets today. Anthony DeSclafani allowed 4 runs in 5 innings, and Sean Jelly, he didn't pitch well. allowed 3 in the final 3 innings of the game, but that's really beyond the point. I mean, the Giants had already lost it on DeSclafani's bad day. DeSclafani's been a pretty good pitcher up until this point for the Giants, and not only that, but he's been going deep into games. And to see him perform poorly is just not good for the Mets. And really, this is exactly what I was afraid of. It applies with Logan Webb, too. Giants starting pitching, it's not enough for these starters to be real good on some days and then mediocre on others. That's not going to be good enough for the Giants. They have to be consistently really good, and that's what's just not been happening. I actually think that a lot more could have been reasonably expected from Logan Webb than from DeSclafani. I mean, although DeSclafani has had a whole ton of success previously in his career, he had an injury, whereas Webb was pretty healthy. Still, I would have wanted him to be better than this against the Mets, and it's not just like seeing Alex Wood or Jacob Junis struggle at all. I consider DeSclafani to be a more critical pitcher for the Giants than that, and especially what he's shown getting us excited in spring training and at the beginning of this season. If he cannot be consistent, that will create additional problems for the Giants. And they were not able to get a single run across the board today. I think the bats are kind of a little bit slow as well. And you just think about yesterday, they scored 4 runs, but clearly they weren't able to strike early. And you would see the difference, like, if they had. I mean, they would have used their higher leverage pitchers in the late innings instead of Tristan Beck just making a 5-inning debut yesterday. So there could have been a different outcome to that game. I mean, you got to consider strategy as a part of the game and how it might have gone for the Giants. And then again, Sean Manaea was left in way too long yesterday. DeSclafani today, it's just hard to say whether he was left in too long, but it's really hard to see that it would have made any difference if the Giants couldn't get any runs on the board. And they couldn't today, so they've dropped their second straight game to the Mets here. And really, that's just not good. I'm not ruling out a hot streak in the season and a bounce back at some point in time, but the way things are going for them right now, they're not on pace to do anything. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.